Hello, everyone. My name is Pedro. I'm a trader and investor. Some of you might know me from TikTok, where I have some audience there. So I'm starting to do this kind of daily updates. In today's video, we're going to look at the correlation between Bitcoin and money supply. We're going to look at altcoins, Bitcoin dominance, and there is a chance that Bitcoin doubles in price around end of April with a really big correlation with money supply. So stay tuned. So if we look at Bitcoin current price action, we are in a downtrend. As you can see here, we came into a really good daily demand zone for Bitcoin. Also, if you look on the weekly, you can see that we hit the 50 moving average, as you can see here. So we came into a really important level. Historically, every single time, not every single time, but the last 3 times that Bitcoin hit or went really close to the 50 moving average on the weekly, we had really big bounces around 25K, massive bounce towards 73. Then we hit again around 53K, again another move towards 100K, and again we are very close to the weekly MA. If you look at momentum indicator, which is this indicator right here, we are at a level where Bitcoin bounced from 54 to 100K, and when Bitcoin was around this price, people were really bearish. Everyone saying that it's going to 20K. So as long as Bitcoin holds 75 to 73K, really bullish. If we come back again to the previous range, which is, I'll say, between 73 and 57, really bearish for Bitcoin. Till then, this is just a normal correction for Bitcoin. So far we had a 30% correction. If you look at also this correction before, we had 30% when we went from 73 to 49. So it's a normal correction. Nothing goes up forever. We have times like this of consolidation going down. We could range for a bit. But according to money supply, which is pretty cool to see, there is a 80 to 90% probabilities that Bitcoin bounces around end of April. So in terms of price action, still bearish. If you look also at the 12 and 21 exponential moving averages, as you can see here, we are still now closing above, still not confirmation. If we start closing above 85K for a few days, we might target around the supply zone, around 92K, where I become really bullish again for Bitcoin and for altcoins as well, is if Bitcoin starts to close above this really key level between 95 and 99. If we start close above this, really bullish again for Bitcoin. Till then, we could do something like this, where Bitcoin goes towards the supply zone around 96K and comes back again. Could happen. So this is what I'm currently looking at. Very important thing also that I have to mention is the global M2 money supply. So this looks at the average money in the market. As you can see here, it has a 90, let me put this bigger, 80 to 90% correlation in majority of time frames, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And if you take 107 days to the money supply, because it's a lagging indicator, so it takes 107 days for Bitcoin to follow global M2 money supply. As you can see here, 80 to 9% chances that Bitcoin does the same like money supply. And if you look at this, you can see that around end of April, May, we might have a really big move for Bitcoin. If it continues following money supply, Bitcoin might come again to 80K and then have a big bounce towards, I would say, 120 to 130K. And that could be a top for Bitcoin, or at least a really good level to take profits. So that's something I'm looking at. Another really important thing I've been looking at is this indicator called Bitcoin Power Law Corridor. If you look on the weekly to this, you can see that the last two tops for Bitcoin always happened when we were in the red zone. As you can see here, it gave us very good the last tops for Bitcoin and also bottoms. As you can see here, every time we get close to the top of this red band, we tend to have tops. So if Bitcoin has a really good bull market, we could come around 235K, but I think we're gonna have diminished returns. Of course, price is higher, market cap is higher, so we could potentially top around 140 to 150K for Bitcoin. Also, something I'm going to speak about in this video is a transition from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing, which historically gave us really good bounces for altcoins. You only had bull markets for altcoins when the Federal Reserve was doing quantitative easing. Interest rates were around 0. So at the moment it's around 4.5. So we still have a long way, but if we look at this, let me show you something I've been working on, where you're gonna see this right here. So the Federal Reserve is currently reducing the amount of treasuries that they are selling. As you can see here, they reduced from 90 billion to 40 billion. So and now it dropped to 5 billion a month in selling treasuries. They're still maintaining 35 billion for mortgage rates, but these are two very important indicators to know the current status we are on. But currently it's dropping, which meaning they are selling less, more liquidity into the markets. Doesn't mean we are going to have quantitative easing this year, but I think there is a chance that we're gonna have around 2026. Usually the Federal Reserve starts quantitative easing when we are in a big crisis. So there is a chance that we have this kind of quantitative easing around 2026. And historically, it was the bull market for altcoins. So it's something I'm looking at currently in quantitative tightening, meaning the Federal Reserve is reducing the money supply. And when we transition to quantitative easing, the Federal Reserve is going to add liquidity, and altcoins are going to do very well. Till then, Bitcoin might be one of the few. I think there are other altcoins with a lot of potential, like Tau, Hyperliquid, Sui, Solana. But I would say majority of altcoins will continue suffering until the Federal Reserve starts quantitative easing. The cost to borrow money becomes cheaper and cheaper. So for businesses, for institutions, it becomes really easy to pump the markets. So something I've been looking at. Also, I have to mention Colin Talks Crypto, where I found this information about global M2 money supply, which has an amazing correlation with the 107-day offset, which is absolutely staggering to see 1 year, 90% correlation. So we could have a blast off around 13th of April, and this could take Bitcoin towards 120 to 130K. And I think also because Bitcoin dominance is so high, already 61, we could have potentially a top for a Bitcoin dominance, and altcoins started to perform much better. We still have a way to go. We only had bull markets for altcoins when Bitcoin dominance hit 70%. Currently we are at 61, so we have a bit more, say, downside for altcoins, but to be honest, I think between 66 and 70% altcoins are going to do very, very well. Another very important thing to look at for Bitcoin dominance is when quantitative easing started, which is this blue square, it was the beginning of the bull market. Only then, in quantitative easing, altcoins did very, very well. Also, if you look at the previous cycles, this one in 2020, quantitative easing started. Look at altcoins, big move. Also, if you look in 2014, when it started, we also had big bull market. We had other times without the quantitative easing. We had also bull markets for alts, but tends to be really good, and it makes sense. More money in the markets, people can spend more, and tends to be really good for altcoins. So far for altcoins, we are in a good level, a weekly demand zone. We have this order block on the weekly. momentum indicator, this one is coming to a previous level where we had a big bounce. We are getting to oversold levels. So I think altcoins also are going to do well between April and May. My invalidation is Bitcoin starts to close below 70K. Yeah, then we're going to see a bloodbath for altcoins. But to be honest, I think we are due for a bounce for some alts. Of course, majority of altcoins don't have any value, to be honest. But I'll see the good ones like Tau, Sui, Hyperliquid, Solana, I think are going to do very well. Another very important thing is Ethereum against Bitcoin. This is a key indicator to know when it's time to buy altcoins. As you can see here, the last time we were this low, we had a massive move for Ethereum. We could come a bit lower, but to be honest, I think around 0.019 is where Ethereum is going to perform very well. Could also be this level, because the last time we were this low in Ethereum against Bitcoin, we had a big bounce for Ethereum against Bitcoin. And again, if Ethereum is strong, altcoins tend to perform really well. So something I'm looking at the moment. I always look Ethereum against Bitcoin. Another important thing is USDT dominance. If USDT dominance is strong, it means people are going from crypto to USDT. They are being defensive. At the moment, we get to a weekly supply zone, as you can see here. Momentum indicator also getting to the highs. The last 3 times we had this kind of price action, we had a big correction for USDT dominance, meaning crypto had a really good time. So another thing I'm looking at, and again, we are at the monthly demand zone between, as you can see here, we are at the monthly demand zone right here for altcoins. I think we have a good bounce here. Last time we were here, it was the beginning of the bull market in 2020. So again, pretty similar situation. We are transitioning from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing, which I think will only happen next year because interest rates are still very high. But still looking at this, I think is a good level for altcoins. And even if we don't have a massive bull market, I still think we have a bounce around this zone. There is more downside, sure, but I think there is a really good chance also that we have a bounce around end of April, at least according to money supply. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much. If you want to know more, if you want to work with me, send me a message on Instagram. There are tons of scammers out there, especially on TikTok. So if you want to be part of Discord, work one-on-one with me, I'm managing a hedge fund. So if you are interested in that, you can send me a message on Instagram. And that's it. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you have a good day. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube. Thank you.